A lot of people struggle with goals, and it's almost become like this wishy-washy term that people throw around like, oh, yes, I'm going to set goals. But no one actually knows how to set goals or like actually goes about a process and then actually implements it and then it actually works or it's good enough for them to talk about, which is why you see so many conflicting things about goals around everywhere. Everything we've been told about goals is a lie. So the main thing is like smart goals is like the one thing you need to do. Like smart goals actually aren't even that good. Like they're so limited in what you can do. So if you don't already know, smart goals is specific, measurable. What's it? Specific, measurable. Is it attainable or achievable? Um, and then it's relevant and time. So it means like your goal must be specific. So like, oh, I'm going to do this very specific thing, and it has to be measurable. So it's like, oh, maybe I'll do, like for example, 20 books. Like I'll have. So it's good to like measure it by the end, so you know you achieved it. If you have a number to quantify it, and then what was A again? Achievable. And this is the main problem with smart goals because for it to be achievable, you like naturally just set a low goal because you want to achieve it. And that's a problem, and I'll get to that in a second. And then it's relevant, which is like relevant to your current season in life, which is pretty self-explanatory. And then time-based, so it has to have like a certain time, so maybe like at the end of the month or something like that. But as I said, the main problem with smart goals is that it's only saying, look, set goals, be specific, be measurable, be relevant, be time-based. Those are all great. But why achievable? Like obviously your goal has to be achievable. You can't set some like, oh yes, I want to land on Jupiter by the end of the year. Like obviously you can't do that. Like, but you have to think big, and there's magic in thinking big. And this book here, I didn't actually plan to do this, but this book right here is like amazing. Think little goals and expect little achievements. Think big goals with big success. So like basically the author of this book, David J. Schwartz, the whole thing of this book is he stresses that if you think big, you'll achieve big. And if you think low, you'll achieve low. So if a smart goal has to be achievable, you like naturally, I'm just gonna go and set a goal that's low in like status or low in, or just like something that you're lowballing yourself. And so many guys do this and we're like, oh, I'm going to read one book every month, or I'm going to read 50 pages every month, or I'm going to meditate one minute a day. And sure, like setting low goals has its place. Setting low goals has its place when you're developing a habit, if you're implementing it for the first time. If you're actually meditating for the first time, then actually setting the goal for a minute every day isn't bad. But as a man, a young man, which you probably are, you have ambitious goals. And with these ambitious goals, you have to have ambitious tasks in order to achieve them. And this is where we get on to the process. So the process is you have to think of big goals and then you have to set certain targets to achieve them and compound eventually. So we'll use an example here. So there's really four steps. So there's first, you got to think of your ideal self in X amount of years from now. We'll use the example of a year from now. So in a year from now, we have an ideal self. Then we set yearly goals in order to achieve that ideal self. Then we set monthly goals in order to every month achieve certain goals, which will eventually achieve the yearly goal, which then achieves the ideal future. And then number 4 is to set daily goals. The daily goals achieve the monthly goals. The monthly goals then will achieve the yearly goals and then achieve the ideal future. You kind of get the point. So how to do this? So step 1 is to think of your ideal self. So what does your ideal self look like from now? And I highly suggest the best thing to do is, it's a super unsexy answer, but you just got to journal, be in a quiet room, no sort of distraction, not even any music. Just think of your ideal self and don't hold back. Oh my gosh. When you were a kid, yeah, you had such strong ambition. You were so excited to grow up. You saw that Ferrari zoom past school and you're like, oh, I want to be in there one day. Oh my gosh, I'm going to work so hard. I'm going to get there. And then what happened? You grew up and then you get conditioned to believe these realities aren't achievable. Achievable. You see why SMART goals aren't good? That is achievable. You have to think big. Big. It's huge on the freaking book for a reason. Like, this is what you have to do if you want to achieve big. You have to think big. And especially when you're thinking about your ideal self, you should not hold back whatsoever. Your ideal self doesn't have to be a year from now. It can be 5 years from now. In fact, that's actually better. But in this example, like, if you're just looking a year from now, what your ideal self would look like, think like, what could I achieve? Like, what would my life look like in a year if I did everything right? If I did everything right and I lived to the best of my abilities, what would my life look like? What would I be doing? What would I be wearing? Who would I be around? Where would I be living? What job would I work? What business would I have? What car would I drive? All these different things. We all lose that childlike excitement that we used to have. You need to tap into that. Because you should be wanting to make your younger self proud. And I know we get conditioned by the modern world and we get comfortable. We have jobs, we have people around us who are just like, oh yeah, I got I got work tomorrow. Oh yeah, I work. Like, shut up. I don't want to hear that. I want to be driven. I want to be motivated. You got to think big and don't let anything else get in that way. Because if something gets in the way, then it's a detriment in your future. So you should be ruthlessly identifying what your ideal self looks like in, say, 12 months, years from now, right? At whatever time frame you'd want. And the way to do that is just to journal in a room with no distractions, stare at your wall, and just write what comes to mind. Literally, you can do this for like an hour, 2 hours. You can do it over multiple days to get really specific. But just spend some time on this, honestly. It gives you such an amazing like visualization of the future, because it's like, like we work on stuff and, we're actually quite good at this stuff, at knowing like what we're supposed to do. We're on self-improvement. We know the good habits. We do the good habits. We sleep good. We go to the gym. We meditate. All this stuff. Whatever. We know what to do. But if you don't have a picture in your head of where you want to be, it's hard to like have the discipline to keep going. But when you have that is the difference. And the only reason you would want to keep going with that discipline is if that goal is big and that ideal self is big in your head. If it's just like, oh yeah, I'll have 2 kilos extra muscle, you can do that in a month. Come on, man. Like, think big. Like, I want to bulk up by 15 kilograms by the end of the year. That's what I want to do. Like, that's a goal that gets me out of my bed every morning and get in the gym, make good food, cook good food, eat food all the time. That's what gets you out of the bed in the morning. If you're not getting yourself out in the bed, if you are not getting up every morning wanting to make that future vision of your ideal self a reality, your goals aren't big enough. Like, that's it. You have to go back to journal and journal again. And once you have this picture, keep it in your mind. You can write it up on the wall. You can make a vision board on Pinterest. You can set it as your wallpaper. You can take snippets out of magazines and place it on your wall somewhere. Do these things to keep that visibility, because that's something that a lot of people don't do. Is they set goals or they set a visualization for the future, but they lose that visual aspect. And humans, we're very visual, and I'm sure you are visual too. It's a great way to learn. It's a great way to take in information. Like, you're watching a video instead of reading a book Like, that isn't that just clear? So that's the first step, visualizing your ideal self. I'm gonna have a drink. My throat's freaking dry, So then you have goals at the second step. Identify the goals that you want to achieve within a year. So you know now what your ideal self looks like in the future. Now you need to set the goals that will achieve that ideal self on a yearly basis. So in our example, we have an ideal self in a year from now. Again, this could be 5 years from now, which is a better practice, but for the sake of this video. So I just want to explain how you can be in a year from now. So let's say we have an ideal self from a year from now. We know what he looks like. We know how much different he is from us now, what he has to do to get there. So now we have to set goals in order to realize this vision, in order to make this vision a reality. So you write down goals. So this will take journaling as well. So after you've done the journaling for your ideal self, you have to journal for your goals. You have to understand what goals are going to be, what goals you need to achieve in order to make this a reality. So really the recommendation by like science and like goal setting, not like gurus, but like people who've like studied goal setting and actually like the psychology behind it, and the most effective way to do it is to set something like 4 to 6 meaningful goals like per year. So this could be something like you're gaining 15 kilos of muscle. It could be reading 25 books by the end of the year. It could be, I don't know, what could it be? It could be getting to 10K a month in monthly income. It could be things like that, 4 to 6 goals like that, and in different parts of life that would emulate what your ideal self would look like. I hope this is making sense. I just had a belief had that pop into my head, but basically the whole thing is your yearly goals should, when the yearly goals are achieved, that should mean that your ideal reality is becoming closer. That's really what I'm trying to get at. Now, from you today to you in a year is a big difference. So we have to have different goals before that, like different goals in between that before we get to that area, because that's too big of a jump in order to work towards. So this is where the third step comes in, and that's monthly goals. So you need to identify the goals that you will achieve every month in order to eventually achieve your yearly goals. So as I said, the jump from today to a year from now, it's a big difference. But we can lessen that difference and have more of a vision and more of like a discipline to work today if we have monthly goals. So I compare this to this, and then at the end it's this again, at the end it's this again, this again, this again, this again, and eventually you get there, instead of seeing it as this huge unattainable thing. Because remember, we're thinking big, but this is where thinking big can become a problem. If you just think big but you don't have like little steps to get there, that is where things can go wrong. That's where it just becomes a dream and that's it, or like a hope and that's it. It's not like a belief. If you think big but you have little steps to get there, then it's a belief, and you know the steps and you do the steps, and then you believe yourself. You see yourself making progress month to month to month. That's belief, and that is how you achieve goals. So critically, these monthly goals, so there's 12 months in a year, obviously, so like these have to eventually compound to achieve your yearly goals. So let's say we had a yearly goal to read 24 books. I said 25 before, but 24 is much more rounded number, right? So 24 divided by 12 months of the year. So 24 books over 12 months. So that's 2 books every single month. That's achievable, but it's still hard. And that's good. That's the perfect sort of zone you want to be in, just outside your comfort zone, but not enough that it's overwhelming or it's like stressful or it's something that's like super impossible. It's called the Goldilocks zone. It talks about in like Atomic Habits. I don't have the book on me right now, but like that's a great book. You should read it. It could be one of your 24 books. But it's basically the area just outside your comfort zone, but not too far. It's the zone of proximal development. Jordan Peterson talks about it too. Anyway, that's like a perfect monthly goal to have. So if you read 2 books every month, you will eventually get to your yearly goal of 24. And that will eventually get to your ideal self, who we could say is supremely intelligent in certain topics that you would read with your books. That's what I'm talking about. So those are monthly goals. It's a weird way to scratch it. It's got an itchy neck on both sides. So then, this is where it gets really important. So we have monthly goals, yearly goals, and our ideal future. But still, from today to 30 days from now is still quite a big jump. So you can probably see where I'm going with this. You will now be setting daily goals. So the daily goals will achieve the monthly goals. The monthly goals will achieve the yearly goals, which then the yearly goals will achieve your ideal future. Everything is connected, everything compounds. So with this book example, right, our ideal future is to become intelligent in a certain topic. Let's say it's, I don't know, productivity, right? Supremely intelligent in productivity. Our ideal self is very intelligent when it comes to productivity. Let's just say, for example's sake, right? 6 out of the 24 books that we read in the year could be about productivity. So what would that be, like 3 months? Something like that. Every few months we'd be reading a productivity book in order to get to the 24 overall. So then every day, a type of goal we could set would be 20 pages per day. And by the end of the month, 20 pages per day, most books are around 200 words. That should get you to 2 books per month. And by the end of the year, as long as 6 of those 24 books are on productivity, you reach your ideal future. You reach your yearly goal. That's the key, because achieving your goal starts today. It doesn't start a month from now. It doesn't start a year from now. It doesn't start at some gray, blurry point in the future. It starts right now. And that's the thing. This is the best way to do goals, because you have a clear path and a clear vision at many different milestones. So every day, at the end of every day, you have a milestone to check off your to-do list. At the end of every month, you have a milestone to see your monthly to-do list, to see if you've achieved that. Same with your year, and the same with your ideal future. You need to do things every day in order to achieve your monthly goals. Now, you can also set like weekly goals in between this if you feel the jump from daily to monthly is too big. Excuse me. But that's optional. That's optional. Some people will prefer the jump from daily to monthly. Some will prefer the jump from daily to weekly, then to monthly. But if you do that, just make sure the weekly compounds to the monthly. I'm sure you understand at this point. So this is the best goal setting process I've ever used. It's the best method of like in high school we learned the SMART method. Like, are you serious? In freaking business management. This is the most effective method, and you won't hear this in schools at all. Just a little bonus tip. having your goals like around your wall, like something like that. Like, I don't know if you can see that, like that there. My bed's really messy. Sorry, my bed's really messy. I gotta make it. Sorry, Jordan Peterson would not be happy. Um, like having it like that is like the key to like if you keep it visible in your head, you can keep that vision, keep your mind on the vision. You know, you stay focused on things. You can stay focused much easier. You can see where you're going. That's huge, man. Because sometimes you don't see where you're going, and you always feel like you're drifting, and you're just doing things for the sake of doing things. So that is what I've found is the best way to set goals and achieve goals. And I really hope it was helpful for you. Thank you for watching, and if I'll see you next time, that'll be great. If not, I hope you enjoyed anyway. Thanks for sticking to the end if you did. So yeah, leave a like and do what you'd like, comment your thoughts. Let me know if you'd like these sort of long form videos. Thank you.